Welcome to the third edition of Blended Learning. My name is Tom Lee, and we're broadcasting from the Virginia Beach campus Batten Center for Teaching Excellence. And in this episode, we're going to be working with Diane Pettway, who teaches EMS here, and she's going to be discussing iPads in the classroom. And as I've always mentioned in the beginning of these episodes, I want to let faculty know that the entire episode is being filmed on an iPad, on a tripod. And the nice thing is, once we finish, I will edit it right on the iPad using iMovie, get rid of all the pauses, all the mistakes we may make along the way. And then once I edit it very quickly, we will upload it right to YouTube from the iPad. And within a half an hour after the show, it'll be ready for people to watch. So I want to let faculty know that the iPad is a great tool to create content. And then in your case, the iPad is a great tool in the classroom. So understand that you are using the iPad in the classroom. So to start out first, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your EMS background, and then tell us how you're using the iPad in the classroom.
Okay. I'm Diane Pettway, one of the full-time faculty in the EMS division. I'm a registered nurse and a paramedic. I've been a registered nurse for 30 plus years, and I've taught here I'm in my 10th year now. And we've been going through a lot of processes trying to, the new terminology, flip your classroom. So that's what we've been trying to do with the iPads and try to break up using the old time PowerPoint all the time, because we find that students get bored naturally, and sometimes you catch them taking a nap in the back of the classroom. So what I've done, I've introduced the iPad into the classroom to take away from that PowerPoint presentation and bring some 3D tools that we can use for the students, so it kind of breaks up things for them. It also shows them, for instance, 3D can show you the chambers of a heart and show you the around all the chambers instead of seeing a PowerPoint with the picture of the front of the heart. So it works much better. And we also use some anatomy apps that work good. You can use them for giving quizzes in the classroom and set them up as teams. I've actually used the anatomy app and have had Jeopardy, where they'll actually pick out parts of the body and set them up in teams, and who gets the most points will win a prize. Sometimes I bring candy bars into the classroom, or sometimes it may be a project and they can pick what project they want to do instead of me just telling them which project to do. So we try to make it fun, and we try to make it rewarding to them. So that's part of that flipped classroom.
Fantastic. And we're actually going to get a chance to see how you use the iPad. We're going to project it up on the screen here. And the great thing about an iPad, it's touch. So you mentioned 3D, so we'll be able to zoom in and zoom out, spin things around.
Right.
And so very touch sensitive. So we're going to switch gears here, and we're going to switch the iPad. So Diane, I'm going to let you go ahead and take over now and run the show with what you have here on the iPad on the screen.
Okay. This first presentation here there's piles that you can pick from on the Anatomy Atlas here. It's through Visible Body. The app you can download. I think it's like $24 that you can use, but certainly your department can work on that and purchase it for you. But it has all the systems of the body. So this one I picked the cranial nerves and brain. As you can see, it's 3D. So you can pick out parts of the brain and actually move to it instead of showing them the old PowerPoint this way and pointing to this area of the brain. You can actually go around to it so they get a better visual effect to them. Now, what you can do also is to test the whole classroom by highlighting part of the brain and ask them to tell you what this is. Naturally, you can hide the area on the bottom here so they're not going to see what it is. And for instance, if they ask you, I have trouble pronouncing that. How in the world do you say this? If you look up here at the little speaker,
medulla oblongata,
it will actually tell you how to pronounce the word, which helps. Also, you can define by definition the whole process here. Okay? So where you can put in Jeopardy, for instance, on this is you could have a team set up for 4 people, and within that team, say you could have, let me get rid of that here, you could have 3 or 4 students in each group, and each group can among themselves decide what part of the brain that is and then tell you. And if they get it correct, then you give them points for that. And you just go around the classroom. Actually fade the part. See how it fades?
Okay.
So it's not as bright. So you can go back, and then you can pick another part, and you can see how it's changing. So that way you never get rid of the original question to begin with. Okay?
Diane, take us to the very beginning of this app so we can see what it looks like as
Sure.
far as all your different options and
Okay.
possibilities.
Here's your whole possibilities here. Every system you have, regional views, and you just slide and it will show you regional. So it's not really, it's breaking certain sections of your body per region. Then you can go to the systems. So you have the region that covers all the systems, and then you can break down those regions into, slicing them apart basically. So here's the nervous system, which I see you can break all of it down. The eyes, ears, all your senses, your skin, your 5 senses. Skeletal, you can go through all of these. And as you can see, it breaks it all down. Digestive, reproductive. So it's a pretty neat app. And then you can go to emanations, which will actually break down how the body works.
Digestion begins in the oral cavity, where the salivary glands, teeth, and the tongue work to break food down into small masses that can be swallowed. The movement of the jaw enables the teeth to grind food. Saliva secreted by salivary glands aids the mechanical and chemical process of digestion. The tongue manipulates the chewed food into a small mass, then moves it into the oropharynx. The next steps are involuntary. The bolus passes through the pharynx, the epiglottis closes off the trachea, and peristaltic waves move the bolus into the stomach.
So it really helps them watch instead of that parasolic waves as your food moves down the esophagus. Just saying that to somebody, it's hard for them to understand, but visually they can see it now.
Take me into the heart function. That's a
Sure.
pretty interesting one, I'm sure.
The heart is a muscular organ that functions as a double pump to control blood flow. The heart of an adult male is slightly larger than that of an adult female. On average, a normal adult heart is about the size of a fist.
So the nice thing is they've seen the heart animation, and now you can bring up the heart 3D model and discuss it. So let's look at the heart 3D model.
And here's your 3D model. So for instance, up on top here, your vessels that you see on top, where you see the red here, we can go right to the front of it, on top of it, and see how it goes into the heart and around it, and then goes to the circulation. The coronary arteries that you see, the blue, you can see how they work around the heart. Instead of just telling somebody that it goes around the heart, they can see how it actually goes around the heart.
Now you mentioned this app is available for like $24. Do you find out that many of your students are buying this app to reinforce this learning on their own?
Yes, because there are other apps that are free that are per system. So literally somebody could go in there and download every system free. Of course, they take a lot of space on their iPad, but they don't but they don't have all the availability within that app. For instance, these apps will have quiz that you can take quiz on and get you prepared to take a test.
Now, you've been teaching EMS for how many years?
10.
10 years.
Right at 10 years.
Now, what did you do before this technology? How did you show them the heart and different parts of the body in the classroom? What devices or methods did you use?
Well, we had the old models that you could use that were plastic, and half the time they'd fall apart.
Right.
Or they'd get worn out and break. But they weren't really that great. I mean, they were okay, they worked at the time, but technology changes. And now we can actually see the heart just like it is inside your body.
Yeah. I know some of the old medical textbooks use that idea of the different layers by different pieces of plastic or cellophane, and you had, as you unfolded the cellophane, the clear plastic, different parts kind of unfolded. But here you zoom in and you can see detail of the heart itself.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is a great application of showing them 3D stuff. Now you teach EMS, so you were telling me that the students do have to go into the lab to do simulations.
Correct.
And so you have another app you're going to show us.
Yes.
Okay.
I sure do. Okay. This here is a cardiac monitor. It's the same one that they will get in the lab, but what it does for you in the classroom is they can be exposed to the system before they actually get in the lab, instead of you sitting there with PowerPoint or no PowerPoint in a book that just has a picture and trying to explain to them all these buttons and how it sounds like and how it works. Now I can bring this into the classroom, they can be exposed to it, so then when they go to the lab, at least they have a heads up on what to look for and what it is. And this one too will actually show you all the different heart rhythms a person can go in that can be lethal. For instance, we can put a patient in this monitor, which is ventricular fib, which actually is V-fib, other known as, and it's a lethal rhythm, which the patient will actually be gone at this point. It's cardiac arrest. And at this time, there's certain treatments they have to give. And you look at the bottom of the monitor where you see pacing and pacemaker and defibrillator. This is where we can ask the student at this time, what would you do? And of course, they're going to have to charge this patient to shock them. And as you see on the right-hand corner on that energy selected, how it goes up and down. Mm-hmm. So they can tell us, let's shock them at 360. So let's charge it and let's shock the patient. So when they hit the shock here, the line goes flat, and that's what happens because it's trying to get the heart to recover. And if it doesn't work, you'll see the V-fib, as it's called, show up again. Okay? So it's really awesome, I think, to have this. And these numbers down here at the bottom, you can change to all sorts of rhythms here. Once this patient's gone, and they have to tell us the treatment. So this is another one you could do Jeopardy or quizzes on as groups.
So you can show them the heart rate or the heart situation, and based on that you could ask them what's going on.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's all neat things. Medications here. Whoops, we got to buy that one. You can see, but we can set a pacemaker up on the patient. You see, it has rates you can select, where you see the blue part that says 80 on there. So there's all sorts of things you can do, but this is the exact same thing you're going to do in the lab, and the exact same thing you're going to do on a patient in real life in the back of an ambulance.
Okay. So you've shown us some two great applications you can use in the classroom. What has been the feedback from your students about using these in the classroom?
They say the classroom's a lot better. It's more interesting to them. They feel like they're more active, that they're taking participation in the classroom. They're not standing in front of an instructor just talking.
Okay.
You know, they feel like they're learning more.
Right. And it's not those boring PowerPoints
Correct.
you see. Basically, you're bringing in animations, you're
Right.
bringing in 3D touch, you're bringing in simulations, you're bringing in text, and you're bringing in quizzes, all basically done from the iPad.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
it's great.
Well, you've given us some great examples of what we call blended learning. You're using all these technologies and kind of you blend them together, and you become more of a facilitator. You're guiding the students through the learning process.
Right.
And that's what blending learning is all about. So I want to thank you very much for being my guest today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we look forward to further episodes of Blended Learning. Thank you.